I'm UFC President Dana White, and you're in the ring with Callum McGregor.
Now we look forward to UFC 273. The reason why, I tried to get you on the podcast before, and I know it was pre-Strader fight, and I was like, this guy's going to be going down there and being pulled left, right, and center. And for our 20 listeners that we have, I think we'll hold off till after and try to catch him on a lower time. Looking at 273, looking ahead, I know that we had the main card. We have a Bellator line, the way it's lined up. The lines are inflated pretty drastically, maybe rightfully so, but I mean, when you have guys at such high levels, it's hard to be so disrespectful in main events to have lines so wide, I think. First, we'll take a look at Volkanovski and the Korean Zombie. For you, I mean, I know that Korean Zombie comes in short notice. We know what he can do. I think maybe his submission game is maybe a little bit overblown. I mean, you pull off a twister and everybody's all over it, but that was years ago. And, he just goes in and bangs. My thing with Zombie is I think that he's adapted a better style. He comes in with a better striking style, more patient. But Volkanovski likes to mix you up, mess you up, and I think he may be able to pull Zombie into whatever he wants, whatever kind of fight he wants. Volkanovski is the real deal. I've never seen anybody get out of a guillotine like that ever in my life. So for you, what's the thoughts on this pick, and how do you see the fight really breaking down? Like if you're looking at it, even if you say Volk, how could you see the fight breaking down, maybe time props and how it would look?
Yeah, I just can't see Volkanovski losing. There's just no way. He's got the skills everywhere. His conditioning is off the charts. His heart is there too. Even for a champion, a defending champion, he still really gets up for his fights. He takes them, extremely seriously, professionally, and he only gets better. It's hard to see that in somebody who's already the champ. I like a lot about the Zombie. I really do. Like, I think he's a good 5-round fighter too. Like, I think he can set paces that he can hold on to. He can set traps. His striking, I think, is actually his best tool going into this fight. But there's just no way he's going to be able to stop Volkanovski with the mixing it up between the strikings, the takedowns. I think Volkanovski can stop him. I think he can ground and pound him later in the rounds, like 3, 4, 5, just by being relentless, just striking, taking down, striking, scrambling. Zombie just won't be able to keep up with him, I don't think. So yeah, I would take Volkanovski by finish, 4 or 5, something like that.
Yeah, and I think that's aligned with where we are right now. We're sort of thinking maybe even with some of the props, you can get like a 4 or 5 decision type thing, just as a little bit of a hedge backup just in case. Mm-hmm. But I think he's going to confuse him in there and eventually just put him out to pasture. I think he wants to put a stamp on it.
Yeah, I was going to say the decision seems like the more safer bet, but I just think Volkanovski really wants to make a statement out of it just because of the opponent. It's not as big of an opponent as I think he wants, so I think he's really planning on pushing the pace, and I think his confidence is sky high, so he's not going to hold back the gas tank and look for the decision win. I think he's going to pour it on with the ground and pound and finish him.
Okay, so next fight on the card, I think we're both on the same page there. I could really see round 4 or 5 definitely happening. If we were to look at the next fight we have, I mean, how did you feel about the first one? We have Petr Yan against Aljamain Sterling. I mean, I was actually, it's amazing the viewpoint and how you can look at somebody. And I said on the podcast, a lot of people are hating on Aljamain Sterling for, whether it was an act job or whatever. It wasn't his fault he got kneed in the face. Is it great to win the belt that way? Nobody wants to win the fucking belt that way. You work your whole career to get to that situation, and that's how it happens. I'd rather lose. That's how I would think. I'd rather lose in a close barn burner of a fight and get another shot again. So he's in a really tough spot. But before that, he was not fan favorite, but he was coming up. He was a prospect everybody loved. He's got solid wrestling, some good striking, and he's a fucking world beater. And he is the world champ, so he still is at the top of the top. So we know Petr Yan likes to sort of watch guys, see what's happening, sometimes to a fault. And what happens with him is he'll pour it on, start taking over, and we know that. That's what everybody's saying on every podcast. That's what everybody's talking about. But what do you think of Aljamain Sterling and his shots in this one? Because we're looking at the 3 main fights with Chimaev and Burns and Volkanovski and the Zombie, and I'm thinking this one is the best one to be the underdog that steps up. And I mean, I'm big on Yan, but I just think that this line is just, I don't have the lines in front of me right now, but I don't even need to. It's probably plus like 400 at this point. Sterling is just disrespected, and I think that his wrestling is too strong to be disrespected. So What are your thoughts on this fight? How do you sort of see it playing out? Because I don't think it's going to play out the same way as the last time. Doesn't mean Sterling has his hand raised. but it would be pretty horrible if there's a bad split decision for Sterling. He wins by split decision because of a foul by Jan. Just something, and that would be brutal to happen again. But what are your thoughts on this one?
Pretty quick. The guy got to a championship fight in the UFC, and people are saying he doesn't want to fight. He's not a real fighter. He's an actor. You don't get a UFC title shot if you're not a real fighter. So that's just ridiculous. The circumstance of the fight happened the way they happened. There's nothing to hold against Aljo for it. All you can do is rematch, which they're doing. So, if he wasn't doing the rematch or something like that, there might be something to say. But literally, the fight couldn't play out, so they're rematching. So, I mean, what is there to say negative about him? And I do pick Aljo in that fight. I think his grappling and submissions can get it done. There was some, the first fight definitely showed some good things for Jan, but I mean, Aljo can adjust. Like you said, he's world champ caliber. For him to be written off is ridiculous. I think he's got the best grappling in the division, so he can definitely get a sub. He can definitely get on top. He can definitely make the fight not go. Jan does so well when things are going well. Like when his confidence starts to go up and up, he just becomes this unbeatable machine. But if Aljo can throw some wrenches in Jan's confidence, get some takedowns when he needs to, and hold him a bit, I think the momentum can swing the other way. So yeah, like it could be a Jan fight just kind of based on how he looked in the last one. But if I need to pick one underdog, for sure it's Aljo, like by a landslide, because I think he's got a lot better chance than people are giving him.
Yeah, we usually do like what would be like a 2 or 3 fighter parlay, which is usually pretty chalky. And then we add in, which is usually the main event with the hedge, depending on what the hedge is, how the dog is, what it is. But we're not touching the Volkanovski fight as the main event. It's going to be the Aljo fight, because I think just Aljo straight up as a hedge is a perfect way to make sure you're making some money on the night if your ticket doesn't play out. So yeah, definitely. I think there's just too many uncontrolled variables as to how Aljo is going to come out. I don't think we know how he's going to come out. And I think that, if you're gassed, you've taken shots, and then you take a knee to the head and you're on the ground knowing you probably aren't winning the fight at this point, right? You're a little bit beaten. The fight's almost pretty much lost. Also, your head's ringing. I mean, what I said on the podcast, it's easy for you to say sitting on your couch, you're not a fighter, shut the fuck up. Not saying you, I'm saying the listeners that bitch about it.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I have no problem with what he did at all. And like I said, they're doing a rematch immediately after. So what is there to say? Like he's doing everything. He's not only did he fight him, he took the illegal shot. Now he's still going to come back and fight him again and give Jan an immediate shot at his title. He's doing everything. There's nothing negative to say about him.
Definitely. All right, so we'll go with Aljo as we're doing as the hedge, and then we'll say it would be your dog for the pick. Next fight on the card, we got the hype train, the man that has not really. What has he landed? One punch has been landed on him. He's taken down absolutely everybody, smashed them. I mean, it looks really good, but I'm on this pessimist sort of situation, and I sort of have to be. I still think he wins this fight. I think there's someone's going to expose him bad. I just don't know if it's going to be Burns. I think Burns may accept position too much in this fight. Yeah, man, we don't know enough about this guy. This guy sells himself really well. He is what Conor did. Like he has sold himself the way Conor did. People just don't really realize it. He is the hype train right now. And everybody's all over Chimaev, but Burns is, I mean, James Krause said it best. He just fought the pound for pound champion in the world. And he did pretty well. He didn't do great, but he did pretty well. And now he is an underdog at probably the biggest underdog on the card. I don't know. Once again, the lines are in front of me. Don't need to be at this point. It's probably like plus 500. It's crazy, right?
Yeah,
what happens when you have people coming out of the woodwork just to bet that don't even watch UFC? They're betting on Chimaev. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was going to say I do think that the line is super crazy for Hazmat just because he hasn't really proven it yet. Like he's had great fights and done great things, but it's all about the competition and you getting pushed. We've never seen him get pushed. We don't know what he does. Maybe he falls apart. So that he's definitely got some hype. He's definitely good. I'm just not sold on Burns. I think he has too much hype. He's had some good wins, but I mean, his knockout over Damian Maia, things like that are getting way too much play than they should. He moved up, or not moved up, but he got the shot to fight Usman. I mean, he fought him, but Usman could have won that fight. He would have won that fight 10 out of 10 times, a bunch of different ways. So he wasn't on that level. I don't know. I feel like the hype is actually on the opposite. I feel like Burns has too much. So I do think there's a few guys in that division that would I'd be betting on versus Chimaev, but it's not Burns. I think Chimaev, one of the biggest things is that Chimaev has fought at 185, Burns has fought at 155. So it really plays.
It's a size.
It really plays into his game already. A game that's already proven to be very difficult to deal with. Now he's getting more things adding into it. So I think the UFC knew what they were doing. I think they picked a picture-perfect fight for Chimaev to look unbeatable against a number 2 guy in the world who really, it's not that he's not a great fighter, but I feel like there's other guys in the division that
Biggest name, easiest paycheck.
100%.
Biggest name, easiest paycheck.
The UFC really did the right move, I think, in this matchup, and because of that size thing too. I think just playing right into Chimaev's hand like that is just going to be. It's just going to be a showcase for him. I really do think so. Like, the line is crazy, all these things, but for that fight, it's not crazy. Like, Chimaev is just gonna control him. He's just gonna totally win that fight in every way.
Yeah, and when I say, about the derailment of the Chimaev training, like I said, I don't think it's right now. I don't think Burns is that guy, because I won't bet on Burns for the same reason that I will bet on you. Mm-hmm. He mentally breaks in that fight, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So he's this high-level jiu-jitsu practitioner with some heavy hands, but I mean, you could match up against somebody who has a little bit lesser of a talent pool or skill set than you. If you don't have it, if you're gonna break, it's like Brock Lesnar getting punched in the face. He was a world beater till he got punched in the face. He didn't like getting punched in the face, right? Some people just don't have it. So or at least as far as with matchups, they're just not going to win those fights.
Well,
right?
that matchup too, the jiu-jitsu specialist versus the wrestling specialist, we've seen it time and time again in MMA and fighting. Wrestlers have good enough submission bases that the fight just plays out already how the wrestler wants. They end up getting the takedown. The jiu-jitsu guy accepts the takedown more. Before you know it, time keeps ticking away, and then you've got Chimaev, smashing you the whole time. So I just feel like the matchup is bad size-wise, and I also think it's bad just fight matchup-wise too, because Burns doesn't have, in my opinion, what it takes on the feet to actually take Chimaev out, and the grappling isn't going to be enough either. I mean, I could definitely be wrong. Burns is amazing, but that's really how I see it. I think it's a perfect matchup for Chimaev to win.
For sure. Yeah, he is higher level, but it does come down to we've seen him break in the cage, and Chimaev, who do you think can do it? Do you think it's going to be Usman? Because even with Usman, although his game is so solidly sound, someone's going to come across the table soon on him too. So
yeah, there's still a few killers in that division. Vincent Luque, I think, is a guy that would
love him.
I would pick him above a lot of guys. He's a beast. Usman, I think, would handle Chimaev easily too, because when the takedowns aren't there at will, we don't know what Chimaev does. Does he start to get desperate? We've never seen him in that spot, so he just always gets the takedown. So I think a good takedown defense would really show us a lot about Chimaev, but it's hard to say. I mean, I hope he does great. A lot of guys are like, I can't wait to see this guy get stopped. I hope he doesn't. I hope he just rolls through, smashes everybody, becomes a superstar even more than he is. I mean, I'm for it, but yeah, I think there's a bunch of dangerous guys out there that he hasn't quite faced yet. So,
well, it's only good for you if you have someone like that at the top of the UFC right now, anyways. Because if you have another Conor McGregor, you have bigger pay-per-view buys, and when you get on a card and move your way up, then you're talking some money. So
yeah, no, it's gonna be cool.
Yeah, man. Now, is there any other fights on the card that you could see that the one that sort of stuck out to me was Mike Malott. He's coming in, fought in the Dana White Contender Series. Is pegged sort of as a grappler by even some of the cappers that I listened to myself, and he's just not. I mean, he stepped away from the game to get into his grappling. His striking is on point, so we got him as inside the distance. It's even money right now. Thinking that inside the distance is a nice sharp play. Kay Hansen was a play from my partner. He's my partner in crime. He had to pick Kay Hansen by submission, plus 350. She's actually a little sloppily missed weight, so I think she's off the OnlyFans pasture, and I don't know if she'll be sticking around the UFC. We'll see. Any fights that sort of jump off the page to you?
Yeah, it's the Mike Malott fight, just because it's another Canadian. Well, I know he's training at Team Alpha Male, but he's from Canada, and he was a Contender Series guy that made it on too. You kind of have this thing. You kind of root for the Contender Series guys. We're almost like a clique, because I don't know. You just want to see those guys do well. You know what they went through and the pressures of the Contender Series, but I think he's got a really favorable matchup too. I don't think that Mickey Gall is going to do anything that he can't handle on the ground at all, and I think he's 10 times the striker. So yeah, that's just up to him to go out and perform that night. And yeah, I think that's the easy pick too, is Mallet with the finish for sure. That would be a good pick.
Yeah, I mean, Mickey Gall, we were on him, 2 fights ago. We went in for it, pulled off a submission, got a guillotine choke, but really isn't an aggressive submission artist, and not really aggressive on the striking either. And, when Mike comes in, his stand-up is 10 times better. And then on the ground, this is what I was saying, like, Gall may be better at jiu-jitsu as far as if you're in the room with Guion, but as far as MMA, aggressive, opportunistic, I mean, Mallet's going to take his neck right away. Like, I'll take the guy who's more aggressive with submissions over the guy who's pegged as better at submissions all day long.
Plus, there's the wrestling too. Like, I think he's got better wrestling, so that's going to really dictate what type of positions you end up in jiu-jitsu. If you have great wrestling, you're already starting in an advantage for the jiu-jitsu portion of it. But if you have poor wrestling, you end up in the disadvantaged position. So your jiu-jitsu had better be fantastic, right? So I think he's going to end up in better positions. I think poor shots is going to expose that neck to you. You hate to talk about a guillotine just because he just happened to win by one, but in this fight, I do think it's a high likelihood. I think he tags him on the feet, gets a sloppy shot, and then grabs the neck. That's definitely a way that fight could play out.
Yeah, I mean, that's where Gall has an issue all the way through, because he has nowhere to go. As soon as you get in close and drop your head, because maybe you've taken 1 or 2 shots, that neck's going to be snatched up pretty quick. So he's going to want to try to stay away from that, and if he does try to stay at distance, he's going to get picked apart and eventually taken out. So yeah, Mike's been actually training at House of Champions down in Stony Creek down the street.
Oh, yeah.
And not that I go there or anything, but I've been watching online, and it's just been striking, man. The grappling's there, don't get me wrong, like there's some grappling, but he's going to go in and light him up. I think he's going to get it up pretty bad. Because Gall, I think, is going to accept the stand-up game, and I think it's going to be interesting. So definitely you're on board with that one.
There too. Like he's the more of an athlete, so that really pays off, I think, too, especially in the striking game. I think the more athletic guy just has the speed, has the power, can catch you early. So hopefully Mike can stand up to the moment. That's, I think, the bigger thing. It's a big card. He's got even a decent name. He's fighting right off the bat. First UFC fight. I went through the same thing. But that's going to be his only battle. As long as he gets past that, if he performs well, I think that's a wrap for him for sure.
Now, to say goodbye to you at this point, I want to just ask you. You haven't really been in the cage in the octagon with an audience, like a big audience. How excited are you for you to have a song you pick, a full crowd, and walk out and realize your dreams? Boom! Like, I even get like.
I can't wait. It's why you do it, man. It's why you do it. I cannot wait. I love the crowd. Mike's fighting style feeds off the crowd. I love it. I love a crazy drawn out fight back and forth. The crowd energizes me. Some guys feel the opposite. They almost feel a little too much from the crowd. Not me, man. I thrive off it. I cannot wait. My next fight for sure will be with the crowd, because I think, but just timing wise, by the time I'm ready to get back in there, there's just no way that they're going to be having no crowd events anymore. So yeah, I cannot wait.
All right, man. Well, I hope that the UFC is able to give you, a bigger name but an easier payday. And then for us, I hope we can get a line on you that, anything under -200 would be nice.
Well, that's the problem. I'm going to keep driving those lines worse and worse, and I keep knocking these guys out for you guys. So you're going to have to make bigger bets.
Hey, man, like I was saying before, Dana White Contender Series, although I had a couple friends that had fought out west, so I saw you on cards here and there. But when I watched tape on you, I saw what I saw. You go after it, and you go get it. So I jumped on your line early. I've already capitalized on that. Now you go make your money. Go have fun with the family, do your thing, or go train, whatever you're doing right now. And enjoy the fights this weekend, brother. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated.
Yeah, right on, man. Have a good one. Thanks for having me.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.